And if you look at our physiology, we are truly strict herbivores.
Alright, so for a little bit more context, I recommend watching this video in full. But the main point of this video is that humans are herbivores and we should not be eating meat. Specifically because of our anatomy and physiology. So let's dive into it. This is our digestive tract. That big thing up top, that's our stomach, which connects to our small intestine, and then the small intestine connects to the large intestine, which goes all the way around, and we all know what that is. So as you can see, the first organ that any sort of food comes in contact with is going to be our stomach. And our stomach has a pH between 1.5 and 2.5, and this is the acidity of battery acid. And if you stuck your finger, which is made up of protein, inside of your stomach acid, it would likely disintegrate. And when this occurs inside of your stomach, this allows the small intestine to rapidly absorb amino acids. And amino acids are simply the building blocks of protein. I've made this analogy before, but a protein is like a macaroni necklace. The entire necklace is a protein, and each individual macaroni noodle are the amino acids. They string together to make one big protein. But when this protein hits our stomach acid, it's broken down into amino acids, where these amino acids can then enter into the small intestine and be absorbed. And then these amino acids are resynthesized into body protein, which can be either structural in the form of muscles, organs, and other structural tissues, or functional in the form of peptides, hormones, neurotransmitters, receptors, enzymes, and other extremely essential things inside of our body. But that's a little bit beside the point. The point is that carnivores typically have a stomach acid below 3, and herbivores typically have a stomach acid above 3, closer to 4 or 5. So the first indication that we're probably not herbivores is the fact that we have a very acidic stomach. And this is actually what changed when we went from ape to human. This is referred to as the expensive tissue hypothesis. Both a very large intestinal tract and a very large brain are energy expensive. And if you look at herbivores, they have a very long intestinal tract. And most of it is made up of small and large intestine because their diet is herbivorous. And these animals actually use their extremely large digestive tract to turn cellulose from plants into fat and protein, something that humans only can do to a very small capacity inside of our colon, which is the section of our large intestine that contains most of our gut bacteria. However, herbivores have a lot of gut bacteria, and these bacteria turn the plants that they eat into fatty acids that they can lay down as body fat and proteins that they can use for structural purposes. And this type of hindgut fermentation actually is favorable in a higher pH environment. And gorillas have a much larger intestinal tract and a much smaller stomach, but they also have a much smaller brain. And it seems like the consumption of animal products actually kickstarted the ability for us to shrink the size of our stomach and increase the size of our brain, because we didn't need as much intestinal tract and as much energy diverted toward digestion, and could divert some of that energy towards expanding the size of our brain. So our guts began to shrink and our brains began to expand. And this coincides with when we first started eating animal products, because these animal products were more energy and nutrient dense than plant products. Therefore, we simply didn't need as large of an intestinal tract. So our stomach acidity and the shrinkage of our intestinal tract is a very strong indication that we have evolved and adapted to eat meat and digest it extremely well. With that being said, are humans actually carnivores? I don't really think so. At least not yet. And the reason for this is because we still have a fairly long digestive tract. And we do expend a fair amount of calories on digestion inside of the small and large intestine. And being that digestion is such an energy expensive process, I think if it wasn't important, we would continue to lose capability to digest animal products until we completely evolved into carnivores. But that hasn't happened, and I think our small and large intestines are here to stay. And because we have an acidic stomach, but we also have a fairly robust small and large intestine that can digest plant products, I don't think we're carnivores, nor do I think we're herbivores. Instead, we're omnivores. And there's a myriad of micronutrients inside both plant and animal products. And what you can't get in animals, you can find in plants. And what you can't find in plants, you can find in animals.